Hello, good afternoon. This is Ramaswamy. So today we'll discuss about how to write stories or script for radio. In this class, we'll discuss about how to write news or news-based programs or any other programs. Okay, so let us dive into the details of lesson. So I will share some PPT so that you can understand what is the and how to write and how to present the radio programs. So writing style for the radio, right? Sharing. Hopefully, it's visible. So we all know that the writing for television is the audio visual medium, but writing for radio is only audio medium. That means you can listen to the particular radio program, not see or read anything from the radio. So these are the, whenever you are writing for a radio news, so you should keep in mind that it is a spoken word, right? The host, the program host, speak on a particular topic. Okay, and it is a spoken word, and it is also immediate. Whenever compared to newspaper, so newspapers reaches the houses at the morning every day. For example, today anything happened, it will reach by your home by tomorrow morning. So, but in a radio case, so whenever anything happened, that news immediately reaches to the audiences, right? And radio program news is also, so in the beginning also we discussed this script is written like a person to person. That means, so whenever you are listening to particular radio program, you're feeling that the host, we simply call it a DRJ, radio jockey, speaks directly to the audience. That means single person. So in the beginning of the class also we discussed one of the characteristics of radio is it is a intimacy medium, intimate medium. That means whenever tuning to the radio program, that radio host speaks directly to the one person, singular one person. That means, so whenever you're listening, so you feel that that person is only talking to you. Okay, that is the one of the characteristics of radio programs, and it is heard only once, and it is a sound only. So whenever you are listening to radio, so if you are not concentrating on the topic or news story, so it's gone in a seconds, but you can't repeat. For example, if you doesn't understand anything of the particular story, that story cannot be repeated for again. But in the case of newspaper, if you don't understand the first time, you can reread. You can multiple times you can reread the story. Then you can understand. Okay, this is the story about this. Okay, this is the situation. This is the how the news is presented. You can understand. But same way in a television also, whenever you are listening or viewing a television, so by not listening to the audio, you can understand the visual content, and you can interpret the meaning. Okay, without listening to the audio also. But in the case of audio, in the case of radio, so only audio. So whenever you're not aware of, you are not alerted to the particular program, you may not get the accurate information. Means accurate means you may miss something. So you can't again repeat. Okay, if you don't understand, you can't repeat. So it is a hard only medium. It's the sound. We all know that it's the audio medium, right? So these are the while writing also you should keep in mind these points: spoken, immediately, person to person, and sound only, and the sounds only. Okay. So in a newspaper, you are writing a story, particular duration, particular length. That length, the script is fitted into the particular space, height into width. Okay. So we measure the story in centimeters, right? So how much duration, how much width is this, whether it is single column or double column or multiple column. Okay. And the length of the space, how much space is occupied on the front page or in the middle page or in the last page. We can measure the story. But in a radio, we measure the story in a duration, seconds or minutes. Okay. So within the short, the story should convey the meaning, appropriate meaning, whatever we are intending to deliver the message to the audience. That message should be in a short and to be delivered to the audiences. And whenever you are writing a story, you should include the facts, information. Okay, you also should provide the different perspectives of the story, so that it gives a balance to the story. So, for example, if you giving a information purely from one side, one party opinion, so you are missing the another party's opinion. So it may be correct or not. So if you give a two versions of the story, right, this side and that side, so audience may decide or judge which is the correct. Based on the facts, they can take a decision. Okay, whether this is a story, fact or not. Okay, that should be given to the audience. You should give given to the to the audience, so that the audience will decide which stories, which side of the story is a fact. Okay, in a newspaper, so whenever you are reading the newspaper, it seems like a uh, textbook language. That means we simply call it a graphic language. But in a radio programs, it seems like a conversation between the two persons, a simple language. Okay, it should be a simple language between the anchor, here is the host, DJ, and the audience. Okay. Even language wise also, it should not be a complex. So, for example, Rama kills Ravana. Simple. It is a simple sentence. But instead of this, if you phrase it as a Ravana was killed by the Rama, so it takes a lengthy. So in a radio scripts, it should be simple, easy to understand. It should not be the complex sentences. Okay. Rama went to the forest because on his guru, Vishwamitra, order. So instead of that, on the order of the Vishwamitra, Rama went to the forest. Simply, you can present the sentence. This is the example. So instead of giving two lengthy questions, two lengthy sentences, two lengthy phrases, so you can simply make it as a simple sentences for radio audiences, listeners. Okay. So in a story, you should not give a too many facts, too many details. So people may be feel like a overburden. They are overburdened. So this angle, that angle, this angle, that angle. Also, if you give a too many facts, so it lead to the confusion. So instead of that, give a specific, not too much of information. You give a deep, simple, in a simple language, give a facts. Okay. Okay. Whenever you are writing a story, it should be the immediately. So the sentence should be like, just now this happened. So whenever your audience listening to the radio, they feel like just this event is happened just now. Okay, they should not give a okay, it's the old story. So you should write like a just immediately after. So for this, so broadcasting like a radio, it requires for this. So we discussed about what I discussed. It should be a shorter, simpler, and it should not be a complex statements, and you should not put in the too many of facts, and you should give a two perspectives of the balanced story. Okay, it should be given a simple immediacy. So for this, these are the characteristics of news stories. So for that, you should have some uh, conversational style of writing. You should have some characteristics. You should have some skills. Okay, skills and knowledge from the journalist, since it is to be written and read out loudly by the newsreader, rather than, for example, the whenever you are listening to a particular program, it should somebody has to read, right? But in a newspaper, whoever the reading the newspaper, they themselves reads for themselves only, so they can understand. If they don't understand properly, they can reread again, go back to the beginning, and they can understand the statements. So in a news story, now you are writing, it should be accurate and clear without any ambiguity, so without any confusion. So use one or two words and convey the message. Whenever you are writing a lengthy stories in a shorter form, so it is may not be difficult. For example, if you have a few facts and you need to elaborate, so for that you need a lot of words, you are using a lot of jargon you are using, so it make it as a complex statement. So instead of very lengthy paragraph, you make it a simple to easy to understand the audiences. So if if you write in a small way, less words, so you can convey the meaning better. So you should use simple words and direct sentences, direct words. Okay, since why? Because so in a newspaper, it caters to only the literate people, educated people. But in a radio program, it may cater different heterogeneous people, right? So they may be literate or illiterate, maybe educated or uneducated. So both are maybe an audience for your program. So your program should cater the two sides of the story, two sides of the audiences, either literates and illiterates. Okay. So it's how writing for radio is different from print, writing for a print, because you have a less space of information, so that you are, so less space here means in a radio program, so you have a small 5 minutes or 30 minutes story slot pulled in. So in that, you need to fit your stories, number of stories. Okay. So that you should prioritize the stories properly, summarize simply. So for example, today hyper local news, like instead of reading all the details, nowadays say hyper local apps, that means like way to SMS, way to news. These are compressing the lengthy story into small words, one or two paragraph, one paragraph. So they are giving the essence of the news story. Instead of giving detailed analysis, detailed discussion, detailed information of the particular story, they are giving the facts and with a little small number of words, maybe 100 words or 200 words. Okay, so that people may understand the story well. Okay, and in a radio, listeners may not reread the sentence again if they don't understand. Okay, they didn't understand your statements or your language. Okay, they cannot. They doesn't have any possibility again to reread or re-listen to your program. For that, you need to keep in mind that you use simple and clear words. Okay, so here in the ultimate product of your, so you are not going to print on a page, but it comes in the way out with your anchor's mouth. Okay, whatever comes, it is easy to understandable, but whenever you are listening to a particular program, it should be easy to understand. So we are not writing particular, not writing for the particular literate people. So your story should be to maybe listened by the literate as well as illiterate. So keeping in mind, you use simple and clear words, and you summarize. Okay, so sometimes you can break the rules, writing rules, as long as it is smooth and simple. So there are some tips writing for a radio. Write short sentences instead of writing complex sentences. You use simple, short sentences. So whenever there is a long, complex sentences, you make it as break them into two parts, 2 or 3 small lines, and rewrite and convey the information. Okay, don't try to pack one or more than one idea in a sentence. So if you give a detailed more than one sentence, people may confuse. So what topic or what information you want to give? So they may confuse. So instead of giving too many information, too much of information, give a 1 or 2 ideas in a sentence. Okay. So this grammarians take note. So broadcasting writing should be minimized. Use the dependent clauses, relative clauses, parentheses. So in the writing for a paper, use some definition and details in a brackets. Okay, but in a radio, you should read out all the details, right? So for that, whenever you are taking the writing for a radio, you should take care of these parentheses and compound structures, classes, relative clauses. Okay, ఇవన్నీ మనం దృష్టి పెట్టుకొని రాయాలి. Out of all these things, you come out with a clean sentences. So first you should write the subject and then word, verb. For example, Rama killed Ravana. Instead of Ravana was killed by the Rama, so use simple sentence. Okay. So another one type of, so in the previous class also with the different formats we discussed. So first one is radio news. Radio news should be the very simple. It should be precise, brief, neutral, and objective, but nonetheless interesting. So it should be a brief, precise, simple, neutral, objective, and also it should be the interesting story. Should be the interesting. Okay. So this niche language is for all about, and make a small sentences instead of using complexes, make it as a simple. Okay. Then you should not overload the different ideas into too many ideas into one paragraph. And be neutral and objective to make to so instead of you are driving your audiences to a particular opinion, so give you 2 types of 2 sides of the coin, so that they can decide. Instead of you are forcing them to point to a particular idea, you give you 2 sides of the story, so they can decide which is correct, which is not correct. So in a radio program, it is a spoken word. So in every new channel or radio station, usually they have a 5 minutes to news bulletin or 30 minutes to news bulletin. Every hour, usually they provide a 5 minutes news bulletin. That means in 5 minutes, they pack up some stories and they give a brief information about the updates, latest updates. In a half an hour bulletin, they give a detailed overview of the stories. Current affairs. Current affairs is one of the popular radio programming. Here, for example, they discuss, for example, Bharat Ratna Awards. So they give a detailed information who got this awards this year, in the previous year. They give a current updates on a particular topic. So they also organize the analysis or discussion on a particular current affairs. So which is the news. For example, last few days we are seeing or viewing on the stories is related to Bharat Ratna Awards. This time, 5 persons got selected for Bharat Ratna Award. Okay. And another format is interview. Interview is the oldest format. Here you means, so you are interviewing a particular person on a particular topic. So that person may be the subject expert, or you are taking the first-hand information from the person, right? First-hand information from the person, and you are getting the information directly from the source. Okay, and his opinion on a particular topic. So sometimes you may make it as a human interest story also. Not only every time interview means doesn't mean you are every time you are interviewing the politicians or police or influential person. So it may also be the person, human interest stories, the whichever creates some sympathy or empathy with the person. You may also interview with that person, particular person. So what are the qualification and functions should have this correspondence? So in the previous course also we discussed radio program, television programs, or it's a teamwork, right? One person cannot do all the things. So sometimes he may work as a correspondent and go to the field and take the news stories and come back and edit, and he may present. For that, sometimes different people involved. Some persons may go and collect the information, and some persons will process, and other person will present. And usually technicians involved in the broadcasting of the news stories. Yes, this type of. So we'll see only the presenters, news readers. But in the background, there are a number of people like sound engineers, producers, marketing managers. So what is the marketing role of manager's role in the team? So any channel runs on the businesses. So advertisements they are getting from the different sponsors. So based on the advertisement value, they'll get some money to organize these programs or sometimes for an official use. So their income comes from these advertisements. So managers work as a promoter in their programs so that they get advertisements from the different sources. Researcher, for example, if you talk about this, the Bharat Ratna Award is last week's story. So for that, so this year we got 5 Bharat Ratnas. So in the previous year when it was started, when how many votes, maximum number of, so one controversy with this awards is, so Constitution says only 3 awards can be given to the person in a 1 year. Only 3 per year. But this time, so they announced 5 persons. Okay, 5% means you are classic. So for that, you need to research what is the idea behind this, giving a 5 Bharat Ratnas to the this legendary politicians and economists at different fields. So you should have some background research on the particular topic. Okay, so sometimes what happens in a big organization or large organization, so there may be a reporter, operator, presenter, and researcher, technicians. Okay, every field, every wing has their own people, but it's like a small organization. So in that, the person has to work as a reporter, presenter, and technician also. I himself may be the producer also for a particular program. So it depends on the how much the type of large or a small uh, size of the radio station. Okay. So we can see sometimes these anchors in a radio channel, in a television channel, sometimes these anchors work as a reporters whenever they're like Ganesh Chaturthi, Ganesh immersion or Bonalu and Batkama. Sometimes they go out to the field and they present it from the location. Instead of reading the news stories from the studio, they go out to different locations and present the news to submit the news stories. So in a small organization also, radio presenter has to work as a reporter, commentator, and they has to work as a presenter also. So they also work as a producer of that particular program. Okay. So in addition, this all the new all India radio organization has subscribed to news agencies. So in the previous class also we discussed news agencies. What are the news agencies? One of the example is Reuters, Thomson Reuters, and APTN, API. These are the examples of news agencies. The news agencies, they collect the information and store it their servers, the centralized server. Whoever subscribe to particular news agency, they can access the story. For example, why they use this news agency? For example, Enadu, take example. Enadu is the largest circulated newspaper in Telugu states, both Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. For example, they want to cover the American election. So either they have to send their own correspondent to the America. Okay, fine, that's the fine. So there is another election in New Zealand and some African country, Sudan, for example. So Enadu can't send their reporters to different parts of the world. Instead of that, they are subscribing to the news agency. News agency is an organization which have a large number of reporters from all over the world. They are working in different parts of the world. They collect the story and send it to the main server. Whoever subscribe to that server services, so they can access the footage from different locations. That is the role of news agency. Okay. And the responsibility of correspondents include they should have a accountability and they are the responsible for the story they are doing. Okay. And the story should be balanced in the previous class. In the beginning of the class also we discussed. So you should present the two sides of the story. So audience may decide which is the correct, which is the fact. So you should not give one side of the story and give this is the fact. So instead of that, you give two sides of the story in an objective manner. That means without any distortion or any slant to the particular party or particular organization. So give a detailed objective story. Then your audience will decide the facts or story about that particular event or person or any program. Okay, they should be a balanced and they should have a independent. So instead of pressures from the different sources, but you should not be pressurized. So instead of you are working as an independent reporter. And instead of that, Journalism Association, you have established codes of ethics. So while working for this accountability, balance, and independency, this code guidances. Some are forceable, some are they themselves. For example, TV channels, they have NBA, National Broadcaster, NBDA nowadays, National Broadcasting, Digital, and NDBA, National Digital and Broadcasting Association. Nowadays, they replaced with the NBA with the NDBA. So now they are working. So they set their own ethics and laws. So you should not cover this story. Whenever you are covering the rape victim or rape related stories, you should use blur effect. So you should not show the act victims uh, details. Otherwise, they will get some embarrassment from the different people of the. So you should not give a details. These are all set by this NDBA, National Digital Broadcasting Association, for televisions. So, for example, for newspaper, they have a PCI, Press Council of India. So they give you some model code of conduct, how a report should work, how computer should work. So they give you some details, how to write, how to present, how to intervene with the different people. These are some of the principles, core principles, they have giving the information. Okay, so one of the principle of news writing is so writing for radio is different from the writing for the print. First hand, so we already discussed this part. So in the first hand, you should not give a much space. Instead of in a newspaper, you are measuring with the space, how much space it's required. But in a television and this radio programs, how much uh, time, space. There in a newspaper, it is a space. Here it is a time. How much time you are giving to particular news story. So what are the principles you are using? So write a short sentences instead of giving a complex sentence and too many information into one paragraph. Give a short sentences and give a quick. More you should not pack more than two or three ideas into one paragraph or sentence. So what are the principles you should have follow writing news? So you should summarize and prioritize. Okay, whenever there are stories, so you make it as a simple and easy to understand by the audiences. Okay, and make it summarize the story and prioritize whichever the based on the news value you give the priorities. Okay, be a conversational. It is okay to be formal when you are writing for the broadcast. Do what takes me to a easy, uh, easy to listen to the content. So you just start sparingly instead of giving 4,95,800. Use simply a near to about near to 5 lakhs. Okay, so instead of 5.5, 5.5, 6, 7, 9, 10, instead of reading all these things, you simply you can say that 5.7. So make it as a round figure. So instead of giving the too much of information, you give it as a whole number nearest to the large number. Credibility. So when you give a particular program, you give a unbiased story. So without any idea, without any your own opinion, give a detail what happened. So give a every detail with the unbiased manner. So you should okay. They are if you are focusing like they are belong to the my community or they are belong to the my religion or if they are belong to the our region. So if you keep all these things, you may not give a objective reporting. So if you are you should have some characteristics, credibility. So you should give a unbiased news report. So whenever you are using the numbers and figures, you give a numbers nearest. Instead of giving the small fraction, you should give a nearest whole number. Okay, when you talk about the size, amount, and qualities of objects, it helps radio listeners visualize what you are saying. If you draw comparison, for example, you mentioned that building site is roughly the size of two football fields. most listeners will be able to visualize this better than if if you tell when the size is in square meters instead of giving, for example, in Hyderabad, that's a parade ground. Parade ground. Parade ground is more than two football grounds, for example. You give a, okay, you will get some picture more than two parade football ground or cricket stadiums. So you'll have some picture in your mind. But if you give a 5 lakh 59 centimeters square centimeters width, you can't imagine. So instead of that, use it's like comparison. So it's like a, for example, any product or any new invention is discovered. So you compare with the better known one, so that people may understand. Okay, what type of, for example, there is the watch. So watch is a very small. If you present is a very small, instead of doing that, so compare with the coin. So it's shaped like a 1 rupee coin, and the old version of coin, and it fits on your wrist. So if you give a comparison, audience will easily understand. Instead of, so in a radio, the problem is radio is the audio medium. You should explain everything so that the audience may visualize the your content. So they can have a imagination, their own imagination. Right. Quotes whenever you are simply. So human beings are social animal. This said by the Aristotle, I think. Okay. So instead of human beings are social animal, Aristotle. So for radio, you should write Aristotle said human beings are social animal. So you should explain instead of quoting the words. The example. Instead of quoting. So in a print media, just we'll write human beings are social animal. Okay. And with a quote, and we will write Aristotle. So that means the quote is said by the Aristotle. But in a radio, you should give information like the Aristotle said the human beings are social animals. So you should explain whenever you are using quotes. You should explain. Sometimes you may convert it into the indirect speech. Instead of saying indirect speech, you can convert. Yes. This is all about the principles and this one. So whenever you are writing for radio, okay, you use simple sentences and easy to listen. So in this class, we'll understand that. So radio programs are read, listen once. Once listen, it may go on. So with keep it in mind while writing the news stories, you should keep it as simple as, and you should not use a complex sentences so that you can write simply and the audience will get the information in a quick way. So use simple words and you should not use a complex sentence and you should not put into too many too much of information into single paragraph. So give one paragraph for one particular topic. Okay, so plumbing all the information into one paragraph, the audience will be distracted.